This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
To be successful in today's business climate, it's more important than ever to partner with a technology company who can provide a comprehensive portfolio of voice data and video services and equipment. With over 50 years experience, Stored Tech is ready to assist you with all phases of planning, designing, budgeting, installing, and maintaining your communications and technology infrastructure, allowing scalability as your business grows and changes over time. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and thanks everybody for coming. It's a regular town board, Queensbury Town Board meeting. It's March 7th, 2016, 7:02 p.m. And would you all please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome and thank you for attending tonight. Before we start the regular meeting, Ben Driscoll is here to kind of convey some very important information to the public, and he asked me if he could do so, and I said sure, because it's a very, very good cause. But let me let you take it from here, Ben, if you would. Just identify yourself with the microphone.
Ben Driscoll, Nutrition Outreach and Education Program for Catholic Charities of Saratoga, Warren, and Washington Counties, located in Glens Falls.
Hey.
I'll read some from prepared text, which I've given to Supervisor Stroh and each member of the Queensbury Town Board. This past week, I also dropped off information about the SNAP, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, to the members of the board to put in their mailboxes. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address the town board on an initiative that I believe has a positive impact directly and indirectly on the lives of all Queensbury residents. As the Nutrition Outreach and Education Program Coordinator at Catholic Charities, it is my job to help educate, inform, and assist individuals and families interested in learning more about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. I can evaluate residents' potential eligibility for SNAP benefits and assist them with the completion and submission of a new application and/or recertifications. This is accomplished in many ways, including collaborating with Warren County at WIC clinics, Office for the Aging outreach sites, and at Veteran Services events. Additionally, I work with school districts, other regional not-for-profits, faith-based organizations, and the business community to increase awareness of and participation in the SNAP. Throughout the year, I work on campaigns that address specific audiences. Those initiatives include Success Starts with School Breakfast, and this year, federally, we're celebrating 50 years of the school breakfast and meals programs nationwide. Heat and Eat with SNAP, you don't have to choose, focused on benefits during traditional types of winters. Between shifts and between jobs, SNAP is working for you. SNAP, it's accessible, focus on persons with disabilities. Stay Healthy with SNAP, a focus on persons age 60 and above. When school ends, summer meals begin, and you enlisted to serve our country, enlist SNAP to serve you. In June 2012, Governor Cuomo signed into law a bill to change the name of New York's food stamp program to the national name of Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP, the new name for food stamps, is a state-administered federal nutrition program. Federal laws govern criteria for eligibility and levels of benefits. Each state is responsible for documenting eligibility, issuing benefits, and maintaining records. Locally, that's done at the Warren County Department of Social Services. I am proud and pleased to report that professional relationships that I have fostered with the staff at Warren County Department of Social Services is the envy of many of my statewide counterparts who struggle daily in their attempts to work on behalf of SNAP customers. Barriers and problems have been few in numbers, and when they do come up, are resolved in a timely and efficient manner. During the year 2014, a monthly average of 4,132 households, or an annual total of 49,585 households, representing a monthly average of 7,569 individuals, or an annual total of 90,831 persons received SNAP benefits in Warren County. According to New York State's population estimates for 2014, approximately 11.6% of Warren County residents receive SNAP benefits. The research I've been able to do demonstrates that that's pretty consistent with individual town population numbers also. Statewide and nationwide estimates indicate that as many as 40 to 50 or more % of the individuals and or families that are eligible to receive SNAP do not apply or properly recertify for benefits. My best estimates are that there may be as many as 500 to 700 or more families within the town of Queensbury who may be eligible for SNAP benefits. In 2014, SNAP brought over $11 million, $11,049,385 in federal funds into Warren County's economy, a monthly average of $920,782 that has been spent at area grocery stores and farmers markets. Please note that these figures do not include residents from contiguous counties who do their food shopping at stores in Warren County. Who do I serve? I serve the retired elderly on fixed incomes, area veterans, individuals whose hours have been reduced at work, the disabled whose monthly incomes fall below the federal poverty guidelines, and many more. The list is diverse, but what is common amongst most applicants is that they are often proud and, despite being eligible and deserving, believe that someone else needs the assistance more than they do. I am certain that we all believe and recognize that children who have eaten do better in school. Adults who have eaten do better at work. Seniors who have eaten are more independent. Anyone who has eaten is a healthier person, is healthier than a person who is food insecure. They are sick less often, visit the doctors less often, and are admitted to the hospital less often. SNAP is truly an economic development initiative that saves taxpayers money. Thank you for your time, and if my 4 minutes is still on, I'd be willing to take some questions.
Yes, I got one right off the bat. You say 50% of...
Between 40 and 50% of the households nationwide and statewide don't participate. Taking away what I used to call...
That are eligible.
That are eligible, yes, sir. Don't apply. A few years ago, they took away what I call the monopoly money, and they have an EBT debit card. Certainly makes it easier for people who to access that. People think that the money's going to run out and it should be going to someone who is more deserving. I do a lot of presentations, and in due respect to everyone here and everyone who is watching this, if you can imagine a vat of money down in Washington, D.C., and our taxes going into that, and a little guy with a visor typing up checks. The building that we're in was built with public assistance money. If you or your children went to a public high school, there's no tuition there. Certainly you pay school taxes, but what about individuals who are renters? who's paying their bill? We all are. The eligibility guidelines are designed to ensure that people have improved diets. They don't have to choose between filling a prescription, paying the utility bill, and again, it keeps them at the job site. They're less sick. The students do better in school, and the seniors are more independent and less more self-sufficient as far as managing their own lives. My job is to shake those branches, to go to wherever people will listen to me, and to try to find those families. I reach out to elected officials, community leaders to help me do that. I did an application for a 95-year-old woman who had raised her children, grandchildren, and a couple of great-grandchildren, had never received the benefit. As soon as we got a new property tax bill, she was eligible for, I think it was $48. $48 isn't a lot, but for a 90-plus-year-old woman, it goes a long way. If an individual is eligible for SNAP, they're categorically eligible for the Home Energy Assistance Program, which can be a $400 to $500 benefit throughout the winter season. So when you prorate that throughout the year, a family could be receiving $50 to $100 a month in benefits. All of us have thrown a couple of pennies into the SNAP program every week that we worked. If we're eligible for it, we should certainly take advantage of it, or consider taking advantage of it. If we're not eligible for it, we're going to be in a better situation, but we certainly have to look out for those who are living on fixed incomes and low incomes.
Ben, what's the best way for a person that says, well, maybe I'm eligible, of outreaching? Is it a phone? Is it the website? What's the best way for them to find out?
There's a program called mybenefitsnewyork.gov. They can go online and check that out. The SNAP program, as well as a lot of other programs.
Any local number?
Yeah, and my number is 793-6212. I'm located at 35 Broad Street in Glens Falls. This week I'm going to be at the WIC clinic at the VFW post a couple of days. I think I'll be up at the Municipal Center one day, and I think I'm going up to Brant Lake tomorrow. So I'm all over the county, but certainly I depend on municipalities, other not-for-profits, faith-based organizations, everyone, school nurses and guidance people to refer to me.
Okay, so 793-6212.
And I do home visits. I've been to a couple of the retirement communities here in Queensbury on behalf of individuals. Excuse me, and I can help them through that process, which is confusing at times to some people.
I think that'll be very helpful.
Great.
Ben?
Appreciate your time.
Ben, and I just want to say, I've seen the breakfast program for some of these children. Amazing. I mean, amazing to watch these kids. They get energetic, go to school, a lot for the breakfast program.
Right.
And to see that cafeteria as crowded as it is in the morning for the breakfast program that they present to them is fantastic.
I mean, if you don't start your day off with at least something,
Yep.
you know, the motor's just not running at full tilt. And that's the same for children, it's the same for adults, and it's the same for our seniors, so.
Well, Ben Driscoll, thank you, and thank you Catholic Charities for all you do.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, next on the agenda is a Board of Health item, and it's to review a variance request, which we'll get into in a minute. Is there a motion to move into the Board of Health?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Clement, seconded by Councilman Van Ness. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. All right, now we're now on the Board of Health. Caroline, would you read the applicant's line?
Resolution approving sanitary sewage disposal variance of Brett and Pamela West.
Okay, thank you. So this is a residence at 106 Bay Parkway, which I think is the tip of Assembly Point.
It is.
And we went up and did a site visit, and there doesn't appear to be a whole lot of extra room. And it is the point of Cloverdale. I mean, it seems to be a ecologically sensitive area. And so the applicant is proposing to install some holding tanks. Would you identify yourselves and please elaborate a little further?
For the record, John Lapper and Tom Hutchins on behalf of Brett and Pam. The site is surrounded by water because it's on the point of Assembly Point, and the house was built 75 years ago. We know that there's a non-conforming septic system. There's nowhere on the site that you could replace it without needing a whole bunch of variances, and this just seems like the responsible thing to do. It's obviously at expense to the property owners to have to deal with pumping it out, but, you know, for that lot, it seems like the right thing to do. Let Tom give you some more details.
Yeah, technically, we did try to look at some options. There is one area that's compliant with respect to lake setbacks, and that would be the area just to the right of the driveway. However, if you saw that, there is actually running water just to the right of that area, which drains an area across the street from the property. That runs most of the time. Additionally, the site is very low. The highest elevation on the site is just about 326, which is where we've located the holding tanks. And as you know, mean high water is 320.2, so it's less than, the highest point is less than 6 feet above the normal water level of the lake. Water table is relatively shallow. Soils are fine sands and silts. They would be acceptable in their own right for septic systems, but considering all the other constraints, we just felt that this was the best approach.
Yeah, and with holding tanks, I know where it is and I know where it's not.
Right.
Before I open the public hearing, are there any questions by members of the town board? Okay, let me see if there's any members of the public. If so, I'll ask you to step down and then probably ask you to return after the public hearing session. There is somebody that wishes to speak to this.
Yep, Ron Ball, Queensbury. Couple questions. What size home is that there now? Is it a 3-bedroom or
6-bedroom.
6-bedroom? And what size holding tank is in there now?
Right now, they have a non-conforming septic system. I'm not sure if we know the exact condition. It's probably not good, but I can't tell the exact details. They might be able to when they come back, but I'll ask that question for you.
Okay, is there a leach field?
I'll ask that.
The new tank they want to put in a 6,000 gallon?
Three
2,000 gallon tanks.
Three
Three 2,000 gallon
Okay.
tanks, pump tanks,
pump tanks.
pump tanks.
Holding.
So holding tanks. Will those holding tanks go into a leach field?
No.
Okay.
No.
None.
They
It's all
get
going to
pumped
just
out.
be enclosed. Yeah.
It'll all be tanked out.
So with that size, could he expand on the house if this is approved?
Given the location and the way it looks, I don't think you can expand that house.
There's not a ton of room there, Ron.
Is it a 2-story house?
It is. It is.
It is.
It does look like there's future expansion that they want to do, Ron, but it's non-bedroom, non-living, non-living spaces. It's just a
Right.
3-season porch, future porch, carport, nothing that anyone's going to live in. Those are the only future expansions going around the outside of the home, not into the home itself.
Okay. Yeah, my approval.
Wait, don't go away, we got a few more resolutions, Ron.
Good evening, Chris Novitsky, Lake George Waterkeeper. Waterkeeper supports when residents will take the initiative to replace
antiquated systems, especially with a holding tank. We do have a couple technical questions, I guess. They have a series of 3 tanks, and the way the detail lines up is that it appears one tank will fill up, then the next one, and then the next one, and the alarms are in the 3rd tank, but they say they're set at 50% capacity, which doesn't seem that it'll actually be 50% if the alarm's in the last tank. So if there could just be a way to make sure that those tanks actually rise and fall in equilibrium, possibly with a lower pipe. Just wondering if this is a year-round residence. It seems like they're building the tanks up, so will there be a concern about freezing with where that pipe enters the top of the tank? Also, in the grinder pumps, we support their initiative where actually I forget what they were, the tank high level alarm actually has a water supply shutoff. We support that. We were just wondering if the grinder pump station will have the same type of alarm system, meaning they have a pump that will pump up to this holding tank. If there's a malfunction in that pump, will that also have a water shutoff? Those are our questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak to this variance application? Okay, will the agents of the applicant please return to the table? All right, Tom, do you know much about the current system that's there, leach fields?
We don't. We know there's a pump station. We know there is a pump station just outside the house. And we know there's an absorption field in the area to the east of the driveway. We don't know precisely where it is, and we don't know details. There's no permit record at the town. We did search that. So
I think the question, the big part of the question was they're no longer to be in use, right? Once these tanks go into
once
place,
these tanks, yeah, that'll all be decommissioned,
Okay.
yes.
And the future of the house, is it going to be expanded in size?
Somebody else that owned this piece of property would want to come in and build a big house, and they want to keep the log home that you all saw and just do some pretty modest changes to put on 2 porches on the lakeside and a small 3-season room, not living space, and on the land side, on the driveway side, a carport, and that's it. So really, really modest. It's still going to stay the same log home, just a little bit updated.
Okay. 3-tank system, set at 50% capacity.
Yeah, with regard to alarms, I can clarify that. Your ordinance requires an alarm at 50% and actually 100% usable capacity. I would typically do 85 and 95. That's why the 2 floats are shown in 1 tank. Chris is correct. The middle float will have to be in the central tank, and I'll correct that.
So will they be rise and equilibrium?
I don't like to do it that way. I like to fill them in series because I don't like penetrations in the bottom of septic tanks.
So the first one will fill up, and the second one, when that gets
And the
about
second
half
one will fill
full,
up.
the alarm will go off saying you're about halfway.
Yep.
Okay.
And then it'll overflow to the 3rd one.
Do you have any alarms if that doesn't flow through to the next tank? Is there any, what happens if there's something plugs up in the first tank or the second tank and it never actually fills? Do you have some kind of?
Well, if it didn't get to the 3rd tank, well, you'd have the alarm from the 2nd tank, which somebody's just going to silence because they know it's half full, and that's my logic between.
But I guess my question, I think this is probably what Chris was talking about. Where's the safety feature to make sure that if one of these tanks has a problem and it's not outletting, that it doesn't overflow?
There isn't anything between the tanks. I think what Chris is talking about is the grinder pump station, and I can also include that with the water shutoff. There's a water shutoff when the tanks reach full level, and I can include the pump station.
If any one of
No,
the tanks reaches-
when the 3rd tank.
So Tom, will
100%
that
level.
fix
That's
Councilman
not the
Irish?
question
I
I'm
think what
asking.
Councilman Irish is trying to say. Wonder if there's blockage in that pipe connecting tank 1 with tank 2, is that grinder
And it's keeping on pumping from the house.
system going to be the alarm that sets it off saying, hey, there's nothing going into tank 2 because the line connecting the two is blocked?
Yeah, that's my question.
There is no alarm to detect a blocked connection
Wouldn't you
pipe
do that with a
between
level,
tank 2
some
and
kind of
3.
level alarm? I mean, if the level in tank 1 is continuing to raise above the outlet, wouldn't you have some kind of alarm in there to let you know that it's not outletting?
Not, because it outlets to tank 2, so not in tank 1, no. You would have,
my question.
you would have one in tank 2 and one in tank 3.
But if there's a blockage between 1 and 2, and you're just keeping on pumping stuff into 1, and it's not going anywhere.
And it's not
If
shut
it doesn't
down,
go
right?
anywhere, we'll back up in the pump station and we can
That's my
alarm the
question.
pump station.
How do you?
You can alarm.
We
the
can
pump.
alarm, the pump station is alarmed.
That's-
I don't
okay.
have the pump station connected to water shut down. There's alarm, which sounds an audio and visual alarm, but it doesn't really do anything. We can also connect the pump station, there's a contact for if the pump
So
fails.
if tank 1 becomes full and the blockage is between tank 1 and tank 2, the grinder pump station will fill up and that alarm will
You
tell
can have an
somebody-
alarm, it'll
You
set
can
off.
If the pump station is overflow, yes, we can have that alarm close,
Okay,
disable water.
okay.
Do you have that designed now or no?
I do not have, the panel is capable of it,
Okay.
okay? But we don't have it wired in that way, but
Can you give me the language of what that would have to be in
Yeah,
case
I
they
don't
ask
have it.
me to put it in the resolution?
that'll be an electrical interlock between the grinder pump station and the house water supply.
That there will be a electric
Amendment
shut off?
to it, Right.
Okay.
Electrical interlock to disable the residence water supply in the event of an overflow of the pump station, or high level in the pump station.
Right.
Provided that there will be an electrical interlock to shut off the water supply if, that's as far as I got, trying to keep up with you.
There is a high level in the grinder pump station.
Am I reading the
No, that-
words?
Yep.
Okay.
So just to summarize it, you're gonna have an alarm on the grinder pump station, an alarm in the second tank, and an alarm in the third tank?
No, I'm going to have an alarm, a level alarm in the second tank, a level alarm in the third tank. The third tank is also will disable the house water supply, and a trouble or failure in the pump station will also disable the house water supply.
Okay. Year-round freezing issues? Anything of concern to you as the engineer of the system?
No, wait, I don't have, no, I don't have concerns with freezing. They're below grade. We brought the grade up a little bit, but the tanks are still a foot below grade.
And is it going to be used year-round potentially?
Yeah, there is some use year round.
Okay. I guess she answered all the questions. Any more questions on behalf of
I'm
the
fine
board?
with it now.
Okay, would you please reread the amended version for the sake of
Okay.
the public and the board?
What we did, what I did was I added a clause at the end of the first resolve, the first of the proposed resolution. The first resolve approves the application, and I put at the end, provided that there will be an electrical interlock shut off of the water supply if there is a high level in the pump station. High
Is that
flow.
satisfactory to the applicant? Yes. Okay. Well, hearing no further questions, do I hear a motion?
I'll move it, public health, no, move it.
All right, motion to approve by Councilman Van Ness, seconded by Councilman Clements. A roll call vote, please, Caroline.
Mr. Mativir?
Yes.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yep.
Mr. Van Ness?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, good luck, guys. And that's it for the Board of Health. Do I hear a motion to move out of the Board of Health? Moved by Councilman Irish,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Van Ness. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We're out of the Board of Health. All right, the next segment of the meeting will be dealing with resolutions. Now, what I do is, there's 8 resolutions tonight. I will tell the public briefly about each resolution. And then I'll give an opportunity to the public and to this board to ask any questions or share any concerns with any of the resolutions. Now, if there's another topic, a town topic, that you wish to talk to the town board about, that segment comes at the end of the meeting, and you're welcome to do so. But this segment deals with just the resolutions. Okay, Caroline, you ready? Resolution 3.1.
Final order approving extension number 51 to Queensbury Consolidated Water District to serve Maurice Combs subdivision.
All right, this is a small subdivision off of Corinth Road. I think there's about 7 residences in the subdivision. They are not in the water district, so they have to get a water district extension to allow the developer to bring water to them. We have plenty of water in the area. They're going to include fire hydrants, but there's already fire hydrants in the area. And there's not going to be any capital costs on behalf of the town to do this. So that's Resolution 3.1. Resolution 3.2.
Resolution endorsing consolidation agreement and setting public hearing concerning proposed consolidation of Queensbury Consolidated Water District and Queensbury Consolidated Water District Extension Number 51.
Okay, thank you. So this subdivision, we're giving it a district extension so that they can go ahead and develop the subdivision and include water to the residences. Another step has to be made, as it should, to consolidate that extended district into the general water district. So that's what this resolution is doing. It's offering to do. And it's setting a public hearing. The public hearing will be April 18th here, starting at 7 p.m. or shortly thereafter, to include this district that we're offering to give it the district extension to. If we approve that, then it will go on to a public hearing where we'll consider putting it and consolidating it to the water district at large. Resolution 3.3.
Resolution authorizing capital park improvement projects, increases in park improvement projects, and withdrawals from capital reserves, number 61 and number 64.
Okay, we wish to withdraw $119,000 total, $39,000 from District Number 1 and $80,000 from Reserve District Number 64. We need about $95,000 in capital work done for Gurney Lane, $5,000 for the West End Park, $11,000 for Hubby Pond Park, and $8,000 for the Hudson River Park, for a total of $119,000. At Gurney Lane, it's going to be going for infrastructure repairs, upgrades, equipment, and a storage building. That's $80,000. For Gurney Lane, trail expansion, third and final phase, $15,000. West End Park, some site amenities, privacy fencing, and turf improvements, $7,000. Hubby Pond Park, water quality improvements, site amenities, signage, fencing, about $25,000. Hudson River Park, roadway repairs, softball field resurfacing, and some fencing, about $9,000, for a total of $136,000. And this is moving $119,000 in funds, as I explained, to enable this capital project as I described. Resolution 3.4.
Resolution authorizing engagement of the Chazen Companies for engineering report and grant application seeking funding from New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation in support of Meadowbrook Pump Station Forest Main Lining Project.
All right, well, this resolution 3.4 and 3.6, our superintendent of water and wastewater is present. Chris, would you please come forward and explain to us and the public a little bit about what these two resolutions are all about?
Props?
Show and tell.
Go ahead, Maury, wherever you need to go.
All right, thanks, John, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
As you know, I called you down. You were down in New York City there a couple weeks ago for an emergency. We had another break on the force main, sewer force main, a problem where we had about a year ago. This time, as we were last time set up, we used the bypass connections. They work very well, and I was able to get Cabricki Construction in on a day's notice to set it up, and they had everything repaired in about 4 days. Got some compliments on the setup, and the foreman for Cabricki was like, "Who thought of these things?"
You mean we use those risers again?
Yeah, we used the risers again.
Oh, gee.
So I would say we've had 2 breaks on that force main. I would say without the risers, we probably would have paid, each repair would probably have been $120,000. The big part is to, again, bypass the pumping station. It's a pretty good-sized pumping station, 700,000 gallons, and the challenge is to dewater the site so you can get down there, cut the pipe open, and fix it. And while that in and of itself is not earth science, to get the waste from the pump station to the city of Glens Falls is a real challenge. We would have to go across Quaker Road and get to the city by cemetery. And that's where the money lies, getting that set up. So these pump out connections really help. They haven't quite paid for themselves, but if we have another one, I would say we're getting close. If you have a problem on Quaker Road, it becomes that much more difficult because you have road crossings, you have businesses to deal with. So actually where we've had the repairs now, behind Della, there's nobody back there, and it's actually fairly easy to navigate and set up the bypass pipe and not have huge issues. If you go on Bay Road, it becomes that much more difficult because you have that much more traffic, you have driveways, and then you have this pipe above the ground, which you have to protect. I mean, you can't leave it in case somebody goes off the side of the road and crashes into that pipe, you have a real bloody mess. So I think the bypass connections have worked out very well. That pipe is in bad shape, and I just want to kind of go over what's happening. I brought this. This is off our 24-inch water main outside the water plant right by West Mountain. It's called a coupon when they do a wet tap. This is what a pipe should look like. Okay, this is in good shape. This is another coupon from the force main, 10-inch coupon, and this is the sewer force main. On the inside, it looks fine. It's a cement lining, and a lot of times what happens, these pipes, they have internal corrosion, and they start eating away from the inside. That's not happening here. On the outside, it looks a little iffy. This is right by Mac the Knife, right by Quaker Road on the other side. Doesn't look so hot. One side looks pretty nice, but then this side starts showing some deterioration. We cut out about a 133-inch piece, Cabricki. I told them I want, the last repair we had, we put a Band-Aid on. It was a pretty good sized hole, like about a couple inches, and I had some fear that the Band-Aid didn't work. But when they went down, they found this size hole about 1.5 feet away from the existing repair. Okay? The inside of the pipe looks fine, so it's not internal corrosion, but it's external corrosion. And you can easily tell at the metal, if you see the metal, how thick it is on top, the metal is eating on the bottom. Okay? So my fear is, when they put this pipe in, ductile iron pipe really isn't made for those soil conditions. We've had a repair back in '07. We replaced about 1,500 feet of HDP or 1,100 feet from $300,000. We had a repair last year, and we had another repair. We have a crossing underneath the creek right in front of, right by Denny's, right by the Adirondack warehouse. I was hoping that maybe we get a couple more years out of the pipe. I'm not sure that we are going to get another couple of years out of this pipe without having, more main breaks. I mean, we know how to handle it now. Set up in such a way where it's not going to be a big disaster, but, each repair is going to be about $40,000 to $50,000. So the state has money out there, and I asked you guys if I could, maybe get some of that money. There's a 25% grant application, and there's a low EFC financing available. So we can go and do spot repairs, but my fear is if it gets into the creek, halfway brook, DEC is probably going to say, you're going to start finding us. So there are technologies out there where you can line a force main. It's much easier lining a gravity sewer. But I think it still might be the best option is to start lining, particularly the part of the pipe that's underwater, which is pretty much all the way up to the city line. I leave it up to you gentlemen what you want to do. Unfortunately, the gravity sewer is also ductile iron pipe. That's also iron. So there's going to be quite a bit of work probably to do in the next decade of taking care of that pipe. We got that tax cap, and I know we want to do a sewer district. So you're going to have the debt for that sewer district, the new sewer district. You may have some more debt for the force main, but I still have water projects too to do. So, we're going to get into the thing where we got debt service on the sewer side. I don't want to start lowering my ad valorem on the water main side to try to balance that out. This tax cap that the state's put on municipalities really hurts them reinvesting into their infrastructure because you don't get a mulligan on that. That goes against your tax cap, but you have to reinvest into your infrastructure.
I don't know if I asked Barb this question, and if I did, I forget what she said to me, but I'll ask you. So if you don't know, you can ask her. But do you have the ability to borrow from our capital reserve fund for a special district like water or sewer instead of going outside for financing?
I have to pay that back within a year.
Okay, so you can do it
by the end of the calendar year, right?
a calendar year.
Right.
The supervisor has to make sure it's paid back by the end of the year.
So,
and you have to, the board
so that
has to
wouldn't make
authorize it.
that wouldn't make a big difference for the amount of money we're talking about.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Of course, you're talking about lining, you're talking along the same lines as what we were going to do.
Yep.
A snap lining, you're going to run a line through that.
Well, we're looking at it. It's my primary option. We had some discussions with Kenyon Pipe today just to get a feel. To line a pressure pipe is very different than line a gravity sewer. It's like a sock, and then what you do is you impregnate it with steam or hot water, and it expands into resin, and then it solidifies, and it's pretty much like a pipe within a pipe. It's got actual structural ability to it. Okay. Talking to Kenyon Pipe, it was a little more expensive than I thought, and it seems like it's a little more to it than what I anticipated. Okay. But that's why we're having Chazen, really look at it and put the numbers down and see if that's the best option. I think to drill a new pipe would be expensive. You have to find a new lane. There's things in the way. There's opening up pits.
I'll give you a lot of credit. We've got to do what we've got to do. I agree with you 100%. If that gets into halfway brook, we're in deep trouble. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, but I'm glad you're on top of it because we've definitely got to do something on it. We can't let this happen.
If we did the lining of that, I'm assuming you would have to shut down sections of that force main because you're the whole thing?
Well, that's what kind of, how many bypasses do you do? And this is where you have to get creative and how you use your sanitary sewer system and maybe set up a pump here, set up a pump there. So that's the devil in details that we're kind of going over today to take a look at. It's doable. One thing, when they were talking about it, it sounded like they couldn't just shut it down all at once and just line it and then test it. It seems like they have to test pieces at a time before they get too far and then put it into service each night. When I heard that, I was like, oh, I was like, whoa, that becomes really cumbersome. But, so this is one option we're looking at. And I mean, what we could also do is, we could set up a reserve fund where, once a year, if we do have a break, Chris, you're not just doing a spot repair. We'll do between the pump out connections and get permission from the board. And I don't know if I can do this under emergency to line that section of pipe instead of doing the spot repairs. And you kind of, do that. You put $100,000 each year and do it that way. That might be more appropriate because maybe the rest of the pipe is okay. You know, for sewer sensors, it's very hard to find the integrity of the pipe because you can't shut it down and sound it. It's not like a water main where I get valve and I have a few people out. This is really a bear to try to analyze. So, you know, if we don't get the funding from the state, or maybe it's too much, maybe, you know, with the help of Bob, we can set something, next time we have a breach in the line, you know, we're not going to do spot repair. We're going to, you know, open it up between the two pump out connections, bypass it, and let's put the lining on that section. You know, maybe that's something we might also want to consider. Because, yeah, I can handle spot repairs and bypassing. That can be done. So this is the beginning of the process to take a look at what we should do, what we can do, what maybe you guys want. I mean, I'm not even against that, but we have to set like $100,000 a year, you know, or plus to take care of that one time when we got a break here. Let's bypass it. We get a contractor in, go down, put the sock in, harden it, and then put it back online, section at a time. You know, that's part of the pump out connection. What I thought.
How would it affect some of your other? I mean, I know the way you budget your maintenance and repairs and upgrades and everything. How would taking that kind of money away from those other projects?
Well, what I would do is I would ask my benefit tax to raise that appropriately, to raise the money through the benefit tax and put it into a direct reserve account. You know, not sure if we can do it, but I would, instead of coming to the O&M, I would dedicate it, you know, out of the benefit tax and do it that way.
Do reasonable reserve.
Yeah. So see, these are some options. We're looking at them, and I just, a picture worth 1,000 words. It's when you cut the pipe out, I was like, whoa, that is that pipe is in bad shape.
7 years old now. That pipe.
This pipe,
the one on the ground.
put in 1988, mid 80s. Okay. So this pipe, it's about 1974. So it's older, but the soil conditions are such where it doesn't eat away at the pipe.
Right.
I don't pretend to be Quentin Kessner when he designed it, but you put iron pipe in that conditions, you're kind of asking for trouble.
Okay. Any more questions for Chris? Doug, do you want those parts for your lift?
Yeah, can you put those in John's Volkswagen out there?
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thanks,
Chris.
Chris. So, resolution 3.4 is to ask Chazen Engineering to complete a grant application, part of round 2 of the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, to see if we can get some grant funding for this. And there's another resolution that deals with this, 3.6, which I'll do in a minute. So 3.5.
Resolution authorizing agreement between Town of Queensbury and West Mountain Ski Resort.
Okay. West Mountain Ski Resort has been holding ski events such as the Kandahar and the Federation International Ski event. They would like to hold more of these events. These events bring in lots of people who are here to stay overnight, stay in local hotels, eat at local restaurants, and so forth. What they need to assure that the events do take place here is the proper equipment for these events, safety equipment specifically. If we've got the proper equipment, then the people attending these events and the people securing locations for these events would be more likely to return here. Councilman Van Ness, you want to add?
Myself and Councilman Clements went up and met with Spencer and Sarah Montgomery that have taken the mountain, as you know, taken the mountain over, put a lot of time and heart and soul in it. They had a very rough winter. Just for instance, the Christmas vacation alone, Spencer was telling me the mountain lost over $700,000. We're hoping that, they're going to stay with us. We kind of begged them to stay with us, but still in all, they kept moving forward. And Brian and I talked to them and spoke to them about occupancy tax. They made out one application, and I'll be quite frank with you and quite honest, we reviewed it, and it didn't quite fit the specifications of the occupancy tax. We went back to them, brought the questionnaires and the rules, how the occupancy tax can be distributed, sat down again with Sarah and Spence. They filled it out, and it fit right into the occupancy tax ball game to bring this FIS ski competition in. They even sent a list of the people that competed in it, and they were from all over the country. It was international. It wasn't just local. It was international. And this is just the beginning. This is like similar to Olympics, where you go from one step to another step to get to the higher step, and this is one of those steps they have to take. It was a fantastic weekend. It went all Saturday and Sunday. They worked hard to get enough snow up there to have it be a good weekend for them, and this is what occupancy tax is all about, promoting tourism and getting people here. It fits right into the category.
Anything to add?
Just well worthwhile, I think.
Tony, you're familiar with these?
Well, I was at the race. I worked the race on Sunday. They had people from Chile, Austria. Ironically enough, my wife and I were out Saturday night at an event, and there was a group of 10, 12 kids, not kids, but younger people there, and they ended up being a bunch of ski racers that were at the event, staying overnight. So, you know, whether it was 12 or 103, there were 103 racers there. You know, they were in town eating dinner, staying overnight. So, you know, good group to talk to, very interesting. And these guys travel all over the world skiing. Very expensive for them. For an average skier, it's $50,000 a year to just go from mountain to mountain in hopes of getting enough points to move on. So the fact that they stopped at West Mountain is a thrill for everybody. I mean, the talent, I just could not believe some of these skiers.
I know, I was there that day skiing myself and watching the races. I thought to myself, boy, I wish I could ski like that.
Well, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, Johnny Jacobs, who's a local, he owns Reliable Racing, is trying to bring the World Pro Ski Tour back to the area. And if that were to happen, you want to talk about talent, that's another caliber of skiing that we haven't seen since, well, my dad ran it back in the 90s. So, you know, if they ever were to come back here, that would be absolutely amazing.
And I talked to Sue today, Montgomery, and we're talking slalom here.
Yeah.
Giant slalom, men's, women's. But we could also be talking about cross-country. We could also be talking about freestyle. There's other events, a lot of events, you know, as they develop West Mountain and get more of this there. Not only will it enhance, you know, the opportunity to see these professionals at work, but I think it'll make their existence more likely.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
And John, I think I didn't mention that the equipment that they're looking for assistance with, and that they purchased, and it's kind of a retro thing, they purchased some of it, is vital for this skiing tournament, or whatever they call them. They've got to have them in order to hold these events. Like the double breakaway gates are required by the rules and regulations to even be considered to run these events. They have to have them. So this is some in the fence, the breakaway fence, the ones you see them run into all the time on television. They get tangled up in, so they don't get hurt as bad. This is all the stuff that they're looking for help with to bring these races back to the mountain. So.
Yeah, I know they would like to make Glens Falls and Queensbury like a ski area, and let it be known that, you know, we've got a lot to do here. You could ski, you could shop, you could go to the museums. There's a lot that you can do here. So go to West Mountain. No sense in driving all that distance up to Gordon.
This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
To be successful in today's business climate, it's more important than ever to partner with a technology company who can provide a comprehensive portfolio of voice data and video services and equipment. With over 50 years experience, StoreTech is ready to assist you with all phases of planning, designing, budgeting, installing, and maintaining your communications and technology infrastructure, allowing scalability as your business grows and changes over time. StoreTech, your technology, our passion.
All right. That's Resolution 3.5. Resolution 3.6, Caroline?
Resolution authorizing and ratifying emergency sewer force main repairs.
All right, well, it was in New York City, and that's when this pipe broke, and that's when we needed somebody, and thank you, Bob, for working with me on this, and thank you, Chris. We had to make a declaration of emergency, which we did for public safety reasons. We had to get Bricky in there. They fixed, as you can see, part of what they needed to fix for a sum of $38,613.32. And this is a resolution recognizing the state of emergency and approving the payment of the emergency repair. Resolution 3.7.
Resolution scheduling public hearing on proposed local law of 2016, amending Queensbury Town Code relating to contracting for animal control services.
Okay, this is a resolution to change our code. We are considering outsourcing animal control. In our consideration, our town code has to give us that option. So this resolution 3.7, which is to set the public hearing for March 21st. Our town code, chapter 5, which is titled Animal Control Officer. We would like to add some wording to section 5-4. The wording would be, well, let me start from the beginning and then I'll cue you to when the additional wording is being proposed. An individual appointed by the town board or town of Queensbury. This is the definition of an animal control officer. Or this starts what the interjection of language we would like to add. Or any authorized officer, agent, or employee of an incorporated humane society or similar incorporated animal protective association under contract with the town to provide animal control service. And section 5.5, and again, chapter 5 is titled Animal Control Officer. We would change that section to eliminate the word establishment and add authorization of, and we would add authorization of a contract. In paragraph A, we would add the word authorization of position and authorized to be created or established by the town. In other words, to do the work of animal control. Paragraph E, we would add authorization of contract. In lieu of appointing an individual to act as animal control officer, the town board may enter into a contract with an incorporated humane society or similar incorporated animal protective association for animal control services. Authorized officers, agents, or employees of such entities shall have the authority, responsibilities, powers, and duties set forth in this chapter for the animal control officer, as they may be revised by the contract. The details of such animal control services shall be set forth in the contract and the provisions of paragraph B through D. Above shall not be applicable to the officers, agents, or employees of such entity. And then, in Town Code, Chapter 73, paragraph 4, we would authorize, eliminate, or add the word board in where it says town, making it clear it's the town board to enforce the town's animal control law and Article 7 of the Agricultural Markets Law. We would add the language, or any authorized officer, agent, or employee of an incorporated humane society or similar incorporated animal protective association under contract with the town to provide animal control services. So we are considering outsourcing animal control. Councilman Irish has been working on that with our budget officer. And I think they're close to making some agreeable terms. But before we consider that, we have to change the code to allow us to go into that direction. So there's going to be a public hearing on this on March 21st. That's Resolution 3.7. Anything you want to add, Councilman Irish, at this point?
I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Okay. Resolution 3.A.
Resolution, resolution approving audited bills warrant of March 8th, 2016.
Okay, this is a warrant with a run date of March 3rd, a payment date of March 8th, totaling $770,048.71. All right, those are the 8 resolutions before this board tonight. Any questions from board members before we proceed, or comments?
I just have a
thoughts?
comment on the last resolution, just for public knowledge here. That resolution approves the bills for the town, also includes reimbursement for 4 of us up here at the town board for training that we did in New York City. So unfortunately, we do have to vote on that to get it passed so that we can pay all the other bills, but just so everybody knows, it does include the expense reimbursement for the 4 of us. Yep. Yeah, you're in. Both of us. We shorted you a little bit, but you're in there.
I'm sure you got the rest.
Okay, any other thoughts, questions, concerns?
Only one on 3.5 for West Mountain. I sit on the board of directors for the West Mountain School. That's their not-for-profit 501c3. We work with kids and scholarships. And while we don't have any real direct affiliation with West Mountain Ski Area, I feel it's appropriate that I would abstain from that vote, just so there's no conflicts there. I don't take any compensation for the job that I do with them.
Well, technically, there aren't any conflicts, but...
Well, I just would feel comfortable just stepping back from that,
Okay.
so.
So we'll do a roll call vote on that.
Yes, that would be great, thank you.
Any other thoughts, questions before I open it to the public?
I just had a question
Yeah.
maybe for Bob on the, on 3.7.
Yes.
Page 2.
Of the resolution?
Yeah. The paragraph B through D, I assume they're gonna be put in there later, is that right? See
Oh,
it?
we're only doing where language was amended. They're left in.
Oh, okay.
So paragraph, section 5-5, B, C, and D are not being changed. They're
Okay.
being left the same.
Okay,
So they will be in there because they're already in there.
Okay.
This only has changes.
good. Thank
Question.
you.
Okay, anything else? All right, public, any questions, thoughts? Resolutions 3.1 to 3.8, John?
Let's just go to the minute.
Thank you. Resolution 3.4, the grant application for slip lining the force main. Is there any idea of what the total erected cost of such a project would be?
No, but I think that's part of what this resolution does. It asks Chazen to figure that out. Yes, Chris is shaking his head. That's part of this resolution. The $7,500 to Chazen not only determines the probable likely total cost, they also are applying for a grant.
And this is only a 25% grant.
Right.
Do you know what we're heading toward? You have any idea what it's going to cost to slip line 1.75 miles of 14-inch diameter pipe with Lord knows how many elbows and valves in it?
Well, is that going to be cheaper than replacing the line?
Not so sure.
Well, either are we. But you
Okay.
know what?
Well,
Chris
why don't
said
we-
when he came up here, I'm sorry for interrupting, but Chris said when he came up here that these are the options. We're going to look at the options, John. Not doing anything and doing it piecemeal is also one of the options.
No.
Just so we understand.
No. Abandoning that pipe and putting in a new sewer line from that Meadowbrook pump station to the sewage treatment plant as you're supposed to do. And would relieve us of all responsibility for polluting the Hudson River in a storm event. You know that story.
Yeah, I know this.
You know,
I mean, we
almost said
keep
that.
plowing.
We could run a line down Quaker Road, and I almost said that, and I didn't do it, but I,
We keep plowing money into this The system, you see the condition of it. 4 feet down the line, you could have another hole.
Well, we're going to look at our options, John.
But one of the options you're not looking at is a new sewer line to the sewage treatment plant. That should be an option. What would it cost?
3 miles.
Pardon me?
It's 3 miles.
3 miles.
3 miles under all the city infrastructure. The city, I don't think will allow us to have a sewer in city proper that we're gonna have to maintain with all the house connections, water mains, storm sewers. Not an easy job.
All
3
right.
miles.
It seems likely it would be much, much more expensive.
Or a new sewer line to our own sewage treatment plant at the Ciba-Geigy site. That's another one.
I like that idea.
All right.
Well, those are the things we should, that's not such a wild
I don't think
idea.
it's a good idea.
We've said that for years, John, so.
Yeah.
$5 million.
How many?
25, $30 million.
You've got it.
Yeah, you got it, Chris. You're not kidding anybody out
All
there.
right.
You got it.
Anything else, John?
I'll save it for the...
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Anybody else like to speak to the resolutions? All right, seeing none, back to the town board. I know that we're going to have a roll call vote on 3.5. Any other roll call votes on any of the other resolutions by any of the other town board members? Okay. Then we're looking at approving in bulk Resolution 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.6, 3.7, 3.8. We will leave 3.5 aside for a separate vote. Anyone wish to move those resolutions other than 3.5 forward?
I'll second.
Moved by Councilman Irish, seconded by Councilman Vaness. Roll call vote on all resolutions except for 3.5.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Vaness?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderveer?
Yes.
Excuse me.
Okay. And Resolution 3.5, which is a resolution authorizing agreement between the town of Queensbury and West Mountain Ski Resort. Is there a motion to move that?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Van Ness, seconded by Councilman Clements. Roll call vote on 3.5, please, Caroline.
Mr. Irish?
Yes.
Mr. Vaness?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderveer?
Abstain.
Mr. Clemens?
Yes. Passes. All resolution passed tonight. Any correspondence?
Do you have the monthly report filed from Building and Building and Codes for February?
Okay, thank you. All right, privilege of the floor, limit 4 minutes. Anybody like to speak to the town board about town issues? Yes, Mr. Judkins.
Dr. David Judkins, Queensbury, New York. John, I'd first like to just clarify something and make it easier for you going forward. Many of my patients, colleagues, and friends have asked me if I was insulted by you continually referring to me as Mr. Judkins in a public forum. I have assured them that I am not at all insulted and that there was absolutely no malintent on your part. However, going forward, please just call me David. I'm perfectly comfortable with that. Mr. Judkins was my father, and he passed away many years ago. Gentlemen, the resolution I referred to you at the last board meeting, making the Glens Falls watershed properties in the town of Queensbury town tax exempt, was for a period of 10 years. The cost of that to the Queensbury taxpayer, based on the current tax rolls, will be approximately $46,000. For the improved parcel where the water bottling company now operates, it will be approximately $20,000. And that does not count the pending reassessment and revaluation of that property based on improvements made to the property. The City of Glens Falls will profit a minimum of $60,000 a year over the same 10-year period, or $600,000 over that same period. The summary of that is the City of Glens Falls gains a minimum of $600,000. Queensbury loses $46,000 in tax revenue. It appears to me we have transferred some of the costs of Glens Falls water to the town of Queensbury so the city can continue to enjoy cheap water. Who negotiated this deal for the taxpayers of the town of Queensbury? We went from collecting tax on the watershed properties for many years. There was a reevaluation in 2012, and we collected a higher tax for a 2-year period, and then passed a resolution where we collect no tax. Now, if that were not enough, I recently learned that in 1996, the Warren County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution making the Glens Falls watershed properties in the county tax exempt as well. I've provided you with a copy of that resolution. So now we have a private business benefiting from both a town tax exempt status as well as a county tax exempt status. Mr. Strow, in the paper, you were quoted as saying you were not sure if the Butler Pond Reservoir property was included in that resolution. As all of the properties in the town of Queensbury watershed properties were included, I assure you it is included. The town of Queensbury taxpayer, and now it appears the taxpayers of the entire county, are not made whole here. A private company should not benefit from unintended tax exemptions made to a municipality while others pay their fair share. Mr. Irish, Mr. Van Ness, and Mr. Clemens, I would ask you, as I tried to at the end but couldn't finish, would you have approached this differently if you had been appropriately informed of this tax-exempt status benefiting a private company at the expense of the taxpayers? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak to the town board about any town topics? Yes, John.
I read in the newspaper where you're in this Donnybrook with the coalition for Lake George, and the state's paying its funding. State hasn't paid up. You recall that? We're deeply in.
Quite accurate. The article was not quite accurate. What is accurate, yeah, the state is a little bit behind on paying its grants, I'm sorry. But the totals and the amounts were not quite accurate. Yes, it is in terms of hundreds of thousands, but it's owed to, Bolt Landing, Village of Lake George, down to Queensbury, and it is in terms of hundreds of thousands. I don't know where the 500,000 to the town of Queensbury came from. It's not that much owed to the town of Queensbury.
Okay, all right.
Just
Well, in any case, we're kind of mixed up with the town of Lake George in this coalition and all.
Village of Lake George.
Let him talk.
Excuse me?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, we don't want to get caught up in that.
Oh, sorry, John.
We are entwined with the town of Lake George in this situation, okay? Because there was a statement made a few months ago that the Lake George application was going to set the groundwork for the other towns in the basin, okay? Now, it's well known that the town of Lake George got $100,000 and some grant to continue this on-site septic inspection and all. And they reached a certain point where they're going to refuse to take the grant, turn it back. Now they're taking the grant. Now they're going to take the grant, but the town of Lake George is not going to do the work. The fund is going to do the work. Now, at the same time, we've got the Assembly Point, Rockhurst people are going to start doing algae inspections. Who are they going to use? Who's going to do the work? And we have on our agenda for the Dunham's Bay project, algae inspections for this summer that were supposed to be done last summer. Who's doing what? Where's the money coming from? Who's gonna go do the algae inspection? They fired the person that was doing it.
That's the town of Lake Shore.
I know it, but we're locked in with them.
No, we're not.
We're not.
No. Not on that, not on that topic.
Okay. So we have someone who's going to do our algae inspection, both for
It's
the,
up to the advisory board. We're meeting the 10th.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to pick
So
that.
that's up to the advisory board, do what they want. They come, we'll approve it.
the Assembly Point Rockhurst people have $4,000 grant. We've got I don't know what we're collecting for taxes.
Maybe you can get a deal going with them on whoever they're using and economy of scale, you know?
Frankly, it's going nowhere fast, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, John.
But,
Anybody else?
I'll see you on the 10th.
Okay,
You'll be there?
yes.
Good.
Anybody else like to speak to the town board? Is that a hand up? Oh. All right.
John, if you don't mind, I'd like to respond to Dave Judkin's comment. I have spoken to Dave. We have spoken back and forth. I do say I was not aware of the resolution where the property was tax exempt. Would it have made a difference back when we were dealing with Just Water? It probably would have brought on more negotiations on our part if we'd have known it was tax exempt. But I also did I spoke with Terry Ross today, who was our assessor. Terry said she has already gone out and looked at the property. I did review the resolution as we spoke, and it does pertain strictly to the improvements on that one piece of property, and the reassessment will deal with strictly that improvement. Don't know what the figures are yet. If there's anything, from talking with Terry, it sounds like it's going to be a minimal taxing. If anything, it's going to be minimal tax collection on it. But I just wanted you to know, after we spoke, I did talk to Terry first thing this morning. Did a conference call with her and with Bob Hafner this morning. So.
Well, let's say that the value of increase was, let's say, 100,000. Might not be that much. Then the city would owe us another $58.50. Okay?
Correct.
They're still
Why?
benefiting from the value of the property that is taxed.
Pardon me?
They're still benefiting from the value of the property that is not taxed.
I understand what you're saying.
And I would agree with Bill, Dr. Judkins, on, because the statement was made a number of times that if there's any increase in taxes, Just would pay the difference, as though they were all ready to do that. I was not aware that property was tax exempt from the town tax. And I guess I also had Terry send out information on all of the properties up there. Probably my bigger concern is how we go from collecting something on that property to collecting nothing as part of a negotiation. To me, that made no sense. If the Article 7 was grieved for the amount of the increase, I can understand dropping back to what the original price was if that's the negotiation. But from what John showed me tonight, we even lowered the assessment from what it was previous to that. So, and then decided that we weren't going to collect any tax on it. So that concerns me a little bit. It's not a huge amount of money, but it's still owed to the town of Queensbury as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that we should be subsidizing anybody. They certainly don't subsidize the town in any manner from the city's perspective. So, you know, I hope that we go back and look at the language in the resolution. And if they owe us 50 cents or $50, they should pay it.
And the other thing I can say that we spoke about is that it really isn't a choice of the town board whether we rescind that resolution or not. It was a settlement of an Article 7 that was brought about against us from the city of Glens Falls. There was litigation, there was agreements. So this, if this board were to even think about rescinding that resolution, we couldn't do it without the cooperation of Glens Falls and the blessing of the court in reinstituting the litigation again. So it wasn't just a resolution from the town board, it was a negotiation with that current town board, the current city council, and the courts that came to an agreement. It was an issue of a decision by a court telling us this is what the agreement is.
And I think it's, at this point, I would agree, it's a matter of enforcing the language of the resolution. If they owe us the difference between X and Y, then, you know, for us to just say, well, we're just gonna ignore it, I don't think is the right thing to do, so.
Right.
And I also think we should hire their attorney next time we go to an Article 7 for anybody, so.
Well, let me speak on the city's behalf. The city's behalf, just last year, 2015, in the upper watershed, because they do pay taxes on lower watershed, that's not part of the agreement, although misinformation abounds. They paid almost $80,000 to the school of Queensbury. Now, how many kids is that watershed sending to the school of Queensbury? They also spent about $7,000 in EMS, fire, and library district taxes for that watershed property. So there's no development on it, per se, except for, somebody could argue, the dams, the roads to the dams, one well for just beverages. I mean, but, you know, how many kids are they bringing to the school and the libraries and things like that? But they're contributing to that. So, you know, this is all a balancing act as you move forward. And you have two sister communities, Queensbury and Glens Falls, who have a long history together since 1762. You know, so that mutual respect has to abide by, you know, many of these decisions. But, okay.
Can I chime in on this also?
Chime in.
Just so that you know, back when the dams were done, I was on the Board of Assessment Review at the time, and that board decided that they wanted to go along with what Terry said for increasing the assessment for that, and that's what eventually led to this chapter, or Article 7. But there are different ways to do assessments. Some can be, you know, for residential, looking at comparable houses. There are other ways of doing assessment, which is in businesses for what they might make in their gross profits. Lots of different ways. So I'm going to look at that for a while, and I want to talk to Terry about it too. But I think that yeah, there should be some benefit there for the town of Queensbury.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope Terry doesn't take it, I'm not trying to second guess what the assessor does, but just looking at what the increase was for what I would consider a maintenance project that they did on their dams, to me, it just seemed very excessive, the amount of money that went up, so I can understand them wanting to grieve that.
But you don't know the full story.
No, I don't, but again, you know, it's not as though they're generating income from power supply or something on that dam, and, you know, they were in disrepair and had to repair them. I'm not quite sure how you value that when the alternative is let it come down and wash poor George Steck off the mountain there and down the road. But so I certainly would have grieved it if I had that kind of increase on my home, and you know, I would have taken advantage of everything I could. But I still think that if the town is owed something from that property, then we should collect it. So.
Okay. Town board discussions. Councilman Van Ness.
Just that I'm happy to see that the occupancy tax went through for West Mountain. I think they're doing a phenomenal job for the hit that they took this year, and I've just got my fingers crossed with the construction that's coming in down on Main Street and on Corinth Road, and moving forward with the cooperation of the city. I can see big things happening down there. So
Well, I thank you
Queensbury,
and Councilman Clements for investigating the matter for us.
yep, Queensbury is going to grow big time overall.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one thing on a more of a somber note. I think on behalf of the board, we're talking about skiing and ski events here. Riley Olson, who was a student at Queensbury with my son when he graduated, was in a very bad ski accident, and he's in critical condition right now, and we'd, as a board, just like to pass along our thoughts and prayers to the Olson family and hope for a speedy recovery.
No, thank you, Councilman Mowry. And you do speak for all.
That's it.
Okay. Councilman Clements?
No, like I say, I've done enough damage for tonight.
All right.
I just have one. I've been on this board 9 years now, and if there's one thing that drives me absolutely crazy, it's when I get a phone call from anyone asking to reduce the speed limit in the town of Queensbury. Because we all know that while we'd love to see the speed limits reduced, it does not do us any good whatsoever. And that was proven this week when we got this memo from the state. If you go back to May of last year, we had asked the state to reduce a very small section of a road that starts at 30, then goes to 40, then goes back to 30. And a gentleman who lives in the 40-mile-an-hour section said, could you please have them reduce our section because it's a steep hill, very dangerous. And we said, oh, that's a no-brainer. So we went through the motions, this town board approved it, we sent it along to the county, they approved it, they sent it along to the state, and they denied it, saying 57% of the motorists already disregard the speed limit, why bother? So
he's paraphrasing.
When I talked to folks on the phone and I explained to them that asking to reduce your speed limit is not going to do you any good whatsoever, it's been proven. So in the future, you can always call me, and everybody knows that I will always answer the phone or call you back. But when we have our little sign that travels around the town in the summertime and we discover that Cleverdale Road, which is a 30-mile-an-hour or 25-mile-an-hour road, somebody went 97 miles an hour on that road. I don't know if they were challenging or what, but the fact is, it is really more about enforcement. Unfortunately, the gentleman who asked for this reduction happens to be a deputy sheriff. His response to me was, well, we'll see what we can do about enforcement. So my suggestion is I wouldn't speed on Moon Hill anytime soon. But if you are so inclined to that challenge, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But my point is, he was sincere when he said, you know, we can't possibly patrol the roads any more than we already do. So it's unfortunate that the state took this approach. My thought was, you know, if they reduced it to 30, at least people would only speed to 40. Now they're speeding to 50, so if we could get it down 10, it would be safer, but apparently the state doesn't feel that way. So we lose, they win, and we'll see what happens. So very frustrating. I don't get it. I read this 3 or 4 times over, and I was perplexed by the whole thing, so
Well, like
I
you
don't
and
get
I
it.
were talking before the meeting. What's the speed limit where it's 30 miles an hour on Glen Lake Road? I mean, it's probably the average
45,
speed.
45. 45.
Well, 38, 40, I
Yeah.
would guess.
Yeah.
So you're gonna shave, if you change the speed limit, you always have those people that go over it a little bit. And so you would reduce that by probably 10 miles an hour, increasing the safety that much.
Right.
But that wisdom didn't prevail.
No. It's not wisdom, I don't know what it is, but it's frustrating to no end.
It's job security.
Anything else, Councilman Mayor?
No, I see I'm so hot and bothered now, I'm sweating, I gotta go outside, so.
Well, I manned the booth for the Warren County Safe and Quality Bike Organization this weekend, at least Saturday morning I did, at the sports show at the Saratoga Convention Center. And people were talking left and right about the new single and double track mountain bike system that we have at Gurney Lane. That was the big topic of people who were coming up to me who knew anything about bicycling. And they said, you know, Queensbury is really becoming a destination for this bike trail. The only criticism, you need more of them.
Can we put a hotel up there, Jim?
Well, we got 3 coming in next week.
One right out Gurney Lane.
Also, I asked the county to look into a waste disposal day for our residents, and they did. So I want to thank Paul Dusick and Chairman Garrity. There's going to be 2 of them, one up in Warrensburg and then one in Queensbury here at the Highway Department, tentatively scheduled for Saturday, June 18th from 9 to 2. Now, We're still working out the details, but, you know, we've done some of the footwork to set that date with the highway folks. So we're going to have that, and more details will be forthcoming on that. Those are the only announcements for me.
I have a question for you.
Question.
I had a couple of people ask, and I don't know if they can or not, but the question was, can they bring their Christmas trees to the dump if they weren't able to get them out in time for the highway department for no charge?
No.
They can't, all right.
No.
I thought we used to do that up there for.
Well, we tried it, and there's different reasons why it didn't work. Oh, you know what's interesting, though, now that you bring it up? You know, had a heck of a time with e-waste. I even went before the New York State Assembly Oversight Board. And I guess that rattled a lot of chains. But I told them like it was. And I quoted their own law. So we've had a hard time. Now we've arranged with Evolution Recycling out of Utica a pickup system for our electronic goods. Now, they're not allowed to be out in the environment because they have many hazardous heavy metals in them and so forth, lead being one of them in the tube and TV versions. So that's why we charge people 15 cents a pound, thereabouts, to bring them in. Okay? Because nobody wants them. You got the picture? So not last week and the weekend before, somebody walked over the fence, broke the padlock and the lock system on the brand new doors that we have on the 12 by 12 sheds to put the electronic items in, and they stole the TVs.
Why don't you just set them out with a free sign on?
Well, what are they thinking? Huh? Now, we don't have to pay 15 cents a pound for them.
Well,
but what are they stealing for?
Let me tell you something, though. It's funny you should bring this up, and I meant to talk to you about this. I went for my first bike ride yesterday. Wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done because it was cold, but in 2 different spots there were TVs thrown on the side of the road into ditches. So I'm thinking we need a solution somewhere, because if we don't figure something out, we're just going to see this everywhere in 2 different spots. One spot had 2 TVs in it.
Was one of them 42-inch Sony?
They probably figured out that they stole them and they're worth nothing.
It doesn't work.
But it really did bother me.
I don't know. Somebody please figure that one out for me.
I would say don't invest in any more locks. Just close the doors, and if they want something, they'll take
Well,
it.
we just had to leave that outside and leave it open. And, all right. Can't make this stuff up.
Nope, sure can't.
And by the way, you can buy John's book after he leaves office. He'll be writing a memoir about all this stuff.
Oh, I got plenty of stories. All right, anything else for the good of the order, guys? Okay. Motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilman Irish, seconded by Councilman Van Ness. We're adjourned. Thank you, folks, for coming.
This program is underwritten by the generous support of Stored Tech, technology solutions for computers, networks, and phone. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.
To be successful in today's business climate, it's more important than ever to partner with a technology company who can provide a comprehensive portfolio of voice data and video services and equipment. With over 50 years experience, Stored Tech is ready to assist you with all phases of planning, designing, budgeting, installing, and maintaining your communications and technology infrastructure, allowing scalability as your business grows and changes over time. Stored Tech, your technology, our passion.